Hey guys, it's Stephanie, and I'm here today to do a book review. So I picked a book up recently at the library. I picked it up because the title was interesting and I really liked the cover, but that's definitely not what kept my interest. I ended up really liking this book, so much in fact, I felt like I had to do a separate review for it. And that book is The Guineveres by Sarah Domet. This was a debut novel that came out in October of 2016, so as I'm making this video, it hasn't been out that long. And I really haven't heard a whole lot about it. So the story revolves around four girls who live at a convent, the Sisters of Supreme Adoration, and the four girls in this clique are all named Guinevere. And all of the Guineveres have basically been abandoned by their parents and dropped off at this convent. And all the Guineveres, or as the reader knows them, Veer, Ginny, Gwen, and Wyn, all form a very tight bond in this basically Catholic boarding school during wartime. And it's about the bonds they have with each other and growing up. I will say this story is definitely a lot more of a character study than a plot-driven story. But I still kept wanting to read it. I usually struggle with stories that are very slow and don't have a lot going on. But I kept wanting to read this book. I was excited for the next time I was going to pick it up. I was just really involved in these stories. I really cared about all these girls and all these characters. If I had to describe the narrative style, I would say it's a mix of The Virgin Suicides and the Netflix show Orange is the New Black. And that may sound kind of crazy, and not in the way that you think. So I'm going to explain why I say that. If you've read The Virgin Suicides, you know that it comes, the story is written in a collective first-person point of view. So the story is told as like we and us. And while the Guineveres is not that, it is told from one of the Guineveres' point of view, Veer. And so she does use I and me. But the group is just so much a part of her personality that it almost is like a group mentality as she is telling this story. As the story goes on and other narrative devices are used, the story does take on a melancholy tone at times, which if you've picked up The Virgin Suicides, it is just a sad, sad, melancholy story. But this book, I mean, there was times where I was laughing, there was times that I almost teared up. It's just a very emotional read. And then the Orange is the New Black part, of course, partially because, yes, they are in an all-female institution, you know, very separated from the world, where they are not aware of the goings-on in the outside world, and two, because of the narrative devices that are used. Like I said, there is four Guineveres, and if you've watched Orange is the New Black, my favorite part about the show isn't always the plot of what's going on in the season. It is definitely the character backstory flashbacks that happen throughout each episode. Those are my favorite. And this novel employs that as well, where we will get a chapter where we will get the backstory on one of the Guineveres. What were the events that happened that led them to be basically dropped off at this convent to stay for good. I just absolutely loved those chapters. Like I said, this story is told from Veer's point of view, and Veer is the most devout one of the group. She is the most religious. They're in a convent, and religion does play a big part of the backstory. One, because it is told from Veer's point of view, and like I mentioned, she is the more devout, more faithful, more religious one in the group. And two, because interspersed with the plot and with the character flashbacks, Veer has a bit of a fascination with women who become saints, and she has several accounts of lives of female saints throughout the story. A lot of reviews said that it was like a too much of a Catholic book, and I'm not Catholic. I did not relate to any of these things. I was not aware of any of the feast days. I've never done Advent. So like none of those things were things that I really related to, and it did not deter me from enjoying this novel. And I really thought the religious aspect of it was done well. Like I said, I'm not Catholic, but I was raised in a very strict religious institution as well. I also really liked that the nuns and the priests were really fleshed out people. They were not two-dimensional caricatures. You know, there was no like mean nun or perverted priest. Like they were just people who really believed in what they were doing, or in some cases struggled with what they were believing. And I really enjoyed that the author didn't take the easy way out and just make these caricatures for religious figures. Like she really took the time to make these people people. I also really enjoyed the friendship with all the girls and how realistic it was, especially in such an insular experience where they have no contact with the outside world and all they have is each other, and they are growing into their bodies, but they still are naive, but still curious about things. And I thought all of it was just done really, really well. There was so much I liked about this book. And I might have mentioned that during the book there is a war going on, but you as the reader never know what war it is because the girls are so separated from everything in this convent that they really don't know the specifics of what's going on. And part of it I almost feel like is because they are teenage girls and they are self-centered and they only care about things to the sense of how it relates to them. It is a little bit mysterious because you don't really know the time frame. I kept trying to look out for pop culture or what they were wearing or anything of the outside world that would give me clues as to what time period this was. And I think all of that was definitely intentional, and I actually kind of enjoyed that. Looking back on it, it was something that I enjoyed. So this was a novel I really liked. I think it did a lot of things well. There was a lot of layers, a lot of depth. I loved this character-driven coming-of-age story set in a convent during wartime. And if it sounds interesting to you, I really implore you to pick it up and give it a try. Like, please, go pick it up, go read it so we can talk about it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!